If you are a new or developing teacher and you are in a place where you are feeling drained and you still get the Sunday blues, I want to share something with you that will breathe new life into your career. The start of the year is as equally draining as the end of the school year. Picture this: you're preparing to receive 28 new kids. There is so much you need to learn about the kids and fast. So, what do we typically do? Push ourselves and our needs to the side because it's all about the kids, right? As teachers, you're not just managing lessons, you're managing so many other things: emotions, trauma, and unmet needs. What I'm about to say may be unpopular, but sacrificing yourself is not the solution, it's the problem. Let's talk about it. I help overwhelmed educators shift from survival mode to a confident, student centered approach by focusing on what they can control. Together, we'll build sustainable systems, boost self awareness, and design a teaching experience that brings more joy and less stress. Being an educator, I believe there's an unspoken expectation that your students' needs should almost always supersede yours. Let me put it into context. If you have a classroom filled with 25 to 30 students, and each one of them has a story, they have a need, some that are more extreme than others, most of which have nothing to directly do with the job at hand. But in order for you to do your job or make any type of headway, you have to absorb those emotions, those problems, process or understand them, and consider all these things in order to be able to be effective. That is exhausting. Yes, relationship building, making connections, building classroom community are essential. But what I have found to be equally important are boundaries. Are you ready for a challenge that transforms? Download your free gift, a 17-page guide to discover the steps that help teachers move from survival mode to intentional, empowered teaching. Click the link in the description below for your copy today. Now, listen, I don't claim to be an expert in this area, but through my own therapy journey, I've learned that boundaries aren't about controlling others or making them understand what your limits are. What I have learned is that boundaries are about protecting your mental and emotional well being. They're not rules for others to follow, but more so commitments you make to yourself to stay balanced, healthy, and whole. Now, I'm not saying that you should not let your guard down and love on your students. Be present and have a heightened awareness of what their needs are in an effort to meet them where they are. But what I am saying is draw a line in the sand. Know what lengths you are not willing to reach beyond. Know when to pass the baton when the needs shift beyond your expertise. And doing this is not a measurement of how much you care for your students. It's to ensure that you have enough in your cup to pour from for the duration that you need to. Learn to pace yourself for the distance because it is not a sprint. I was once a part of the track team in high school. Now, don't get me wrong, I was not any good. However, I was able to take away some lessons from that experience. One of them being, in order to be a decent runner or competitive, you had to have some form of conditioning, such as weight training, distance running, or whatever, that would improve your endurance. For me, that's one way boundaries function in the classroom. They are the conditioning that I need to ensure that I have enough endurance for the long haul. So I'm not depleting myself. And here's another thing: don't let anyone guilt you into feeling like because their give looks a little different from yours, that yours isn't sufficient, because it is. For example, during my contractual hours, I am 100% checked in, locked in, doing what I'm supposed to do. But where I am currently in life, I don't attend very many after school events. I have a young child, so I reserve that time and that space to pour into him and his interests. And if I'm being very transparent, I use that time for me as well. And guess what? I reserve that right to do so with no explanation. I leave work at work with no guilt. And that is something I had to learn to do. And if you've ever noticed that when you do overextend yourself, your contribution no longer feels authentic and you start to come from a place where, you're a little disgruntled. You may start to feel like you're operating in frustration and resentment starts to creep in. I found that when I do things that are beyond my reach, that I begin to do it with a spirit of attitude and not gratitude, and that doesn't serve anyone. Yes, working with kids is hard work, but it shouldn't deplete your energy to the point that you don't have anything to give to yourself, your loved ones, or to the things that matter most to you and bring you joy. So, here are a few things I want you to consider as you are thinking about what boundaries that you can set. What fears or beliefs might be holding you back from setting boundaries with students, colleagues, or even yourself? How do you typically recognize when you have reached your emotional or mental limit? And what can you do in that moment to reset or seek support? And lastly, in what ways can you bring honor to your unique give? And how can you remind yourself that your contribution is in fact enough? If you found any of this information in this video helpful, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you would like to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.